I've been on this doubles thing for a while, and I really want to get this out. So ask me about the doubles.
Okay. Oscar. So I'm guilty of it, not just everyone else. It's fine for me to talk about it, but I'm also guilty of it on the channel as well, of not really covering doubles at all, really. And I don't think it's just me. It's a lot of tennis media, also the way it's been covered. So the question and kind of topic I wanted to discuss and was the fact that, I mean, does anyone at the moment, unfortunately, really care about doubles? And I don't think many people do. If you're a casual tennis fan, then honestly speaking, and it's not right.
Do you follow on Twitter Will Bucic or something? I'm
No.
sorry, Will, I might have butchered your last name. He's a great guy who I've hung out with at the Australian Open. But his whole thing, he's starting this hashtag watch more doubles.
So there's actually, and I was going to mention, I think it. So I don't know if you're saying he started it. So I think it's caught on. I think it's Christiane, who's a former doubles player.
Okay.
She did like this video, like it's like a reel on Instagram where she's got loads of like singles players and doubles players. So singles players who play doubles and also doubles players basically saying to kind of watch more doubles or like support more doubles basically. And it's like a whole kind of initiative to get behind doubles. And it was after watching that's actually how it captured my attention. So I watched it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was thinking, and I was like, you know what? They've got a point. Like, it's not really fair, is it? Like, just because like it's tennis, it's still tennis. It's a different format. It's really exciting to watch. If you do sit down and watch doubles, it is really fun to watch. Everyone loves watching doubles when it's Federer and Nadal playing together in the Laver Cup. But right, they're like, oh, it's amazing. Look how fun it is. Like, they watch it, but then they won't go and watch doubles ordinarily, right? The Bryan brothers, etc. Like, I'm talking about people, Bryan brothers. I mean, they even play anymore? I don't even know, right? This is
No,
what I
they
mean. Like,
retired.
this is what I mean. So this is so bad. Like, I should know this. Like, if I don't, so I can't really call myself a tennis fan. I could probably only really call myself a singles tennis fan. But tennis is made up of two different formats. So I I do think there's a lack of representation on the double side, and another reason why it came to my attention was because someone on Twitter said, and I thought this was a really good point, that do the singles players just take it for granted? So a lot of singles players enter the doubles. So for example, I think the example they gave was Rublev and Khachanov.
Hmm.
So they'd enter the doubles and they
Yeah.
pulled out against
Yeah.
Kyrgios and Kokkinakis,
Who wants
and
to
they
play them?
yeah. So they said, well, one they were like, okay, well, why they pulled out? They just didn't want to play, right? I think is basically how it came across. Rublev, I think, had lost to Kyrgios at that point as well, so he's probably thinking, I don't really want to play him again, and also they probably maybe had a niggle. Whereas if it was purely doubles players in that position, they wouldn't have done the same thing, right? So one, you're losing out on watching matches, but two, as a fan, again, I could be wrong because I don't represent all tennis fans, but I think sadly, if you go and watch a doubles match, you would prefer to see two singles players playing rather than two doubles players playing, right? In a doubles match,
Right.
which I think is a sad mindset to have because I would be that person. I'd be like, oh great, I'm watching Kyrgios and Kokkinakis. Yeah, I know they won a doubles Grand Slam title, but let's be honest, they're singles players. For example, I'd rather see them than watch Joe Salisbury and Ram, for example, play doubles. Um, and I was just thinking to myself, like, we have to discuss this because I just can't understand why. Because it can't just be me. I can't just be the only
Oh
person that's thinking
no.
that. I think
Look,
it's obviously an endemic issue and problem in tennis. Like, why aren't they being
is it a
represented more?
problem? I have a completely different spin on this whole
Okay.
thing. And this is, maybe you would say, it's decidedly American. It's, capitalist, gone awry. And believe me, I'm pretty like left of center politically. But um I don't believe, and I covered women's basketball in the United States for so many years, and there's this feeling that, basketball in the United States, the NBA and men's college basketball is hugely popular. So there's this feeling that we need to support women's basketball and watch women's basketball and
Okay.
buy tickets and go to those games.
Yeah. No, we've got the same thing here actually with women's football and women's cricket. So it's exactly
Um,
the same in the UK. Yeah.
a sport, I firmly believe that any sport which is trying to sell itself as entertainment
Mm,
should never try to guilt someone into spending their valuable time off
yeah.
watching that out of obligation because
Agreed.
you
Yeah.
should. I feel the same way about doubles.
Mm.
The hashtag, and I love this Will guy who started this, I believe. The hashtag watch more doubles I think is a bad idea. Don't tell me what to watch. I want to watch Curious Sinner
yeah.
today. You know, that's
Yeah.
if I happen upon a doubles match that looks interesting to me, and I can think of some within the last few years, like when Andy Murray partnered with Serena Williams, I couldn't
Yeah.
take my eyes off of it. That's what I want to watch.
Yeah.
So, my solution to doubles is I think it would be better to have as many matchups as possible with singles players playing against doubles specialist teams, doubles
Okay.
teams that have star quality like the Bryan brothers. And the way to do that, the way to create double stars is to actually squeeze doubles and make the tournament smaller. So it's the law of supply and demand. You make doubles the special thing, the hot ticket, the thing that you don't see all over the place, not the afterthought.
Yeah.
So it's like, ooh, doubles match. You hardly ever get to see that. Let's stop and watch it.
Mm,
And then the stars start of the double specialists, the teams, you get only the very, very, very elite competing. And then they can, you know, work to compete on an even playing field with the single specialists that aren't really putting as much into their doubles games. And
okay.
then I think you start to see some quality matchups.
Do you think so? Basically, almost bridging the gap, then, isn't it, between the casuals and then trying to get them to become more hardcore fans by then, I guess, introducing them to okay, yeah, well, they'll watch the singles players play doubles, and then they'll, I guess, become familiar with the doubles players. I agree with you in the sense that like I don't want anyone to force down my throat. Okay, you have to watch this, and I don't think it's I think there's probably more important hashtags that can be made rather than
Yes.
watch doubles, right? So I understand why it's come about, but I think it's not the right way of doing it. Agreed. Um, but what I do want to say, and I don't know whether you agree, is that there is probably an issue in terms of exposure from the tennis media, though, generally around it. And I feel like, but in
Does the
saying that,
tail wag the dog or does the dog wag the tail? Like the media covers what the public wants to hear, otherwise the media doesn't survive because nobody's watching them.
but do you think
So,
that's because it's always been that like that historically though? So I think even from when tennis was first, like who remembers who won the Wimbledon doubles in 1978, for example, right? Like no one knows. Like no one, not no one, but I don't know. Whereas we talk about singles, you say okay, well let's go through. Well, I might know, it could be X, Y, and Z, whoever. But um, do you think that is?
look at the attendance, look at the number of go to any of these tournaments, whether it
Yeah,
be a Grand Slam. Although at Wimbledon, I must say you guys do a great job. The Brits do a great job supporting doubles.
yeah,
But go to a Masters 1000, go to any tournament, go to a Grand Slam, and you're just not going to get the attendance at the doubles matches that you do at the singles matches. And it's the same for TV ratings. So it's just not as popular at this time. But again,
mm,
shrink the doubles draw, make the
yeah.
doubles draw like an 8 team draw. I mean, half the people are withdrawing or pulling out anyway. So shrink the draw and you'll get this phenomenon of, ooh, this is really special. This is not something you see every day. It's a doubles match, and I guarantee you more people will start watching.
Mm. But so I go back to this, but I do you think though, because you're saying that at the moment it's not like the flavor of the month, right? It's not what people are excited to watch, and that's why there's no crowd tends, etc. But do you think that's because initially when tennis first came onto the scene, and we'll talk about history, but let's just talk about the last 20 years, for example, last 30 years, there has always been more importance on the singles champions, on singles generally, and is it more exciting singles than doubles? I don't know. Like we both play
Yes,
doubles.
it's more
You think it
exciting
is? So,
singles than doubles. Yes, it is more exciting.
but some,
Why there's any number of theories, but
but
that
what
is
about some of the points in doubles, there, Amy? So some of the points in doubles are some of the most exciting points you'll see, right? The net, you go, net player to net player, go back, and they're like some of the most exciting ones you'll see. Everyone's at the net, all four players in the net. They're kind of, it's like hot potato going around, and you just think, oh, this is amazing to watch reflex shots at the net. I mean, is that not exciting? Is that not just as exciting, if not more exciting, than some of the singles points that we see at times?
in person, it's a lot better. On TV, it's
Okay.
hard to follow the ball, especially in men's because it's moving so fast.
Mm,
And some of the doubles specialists have it down to such a science that the points are just so rapid fire and
mm,
reflex that it's not as entertaining as the gladiator style mano
mm,
a mano, one on one. I'm out there to figure this all out all by myself
mm,
versus the other person. But it's just intuitive that at the pro level, singles is more interesting. I'm
mm.
sorry.
No, I don't disagree. I'm more just trying to,
But it's
discuss it as well because
you're right. Like doubles can be interesting. It can be
mm,
entertaining, but I think it needs to be tweaked. I really do.
yeah, and I guess that's my point, right? And that's where it then feeds into your idea where you're saying about tweaking it and changing the format and just trying to make it even more digestible than it is now, which I think it is digestible. But I think if you're someone who is new to tennis, you don't think, oh, doubles players. You think Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, right? You think about these players. Everyone's talking about Alcaraz. Does anyone talk about an upcoming doubles player, like a rising star in the doubles? No one does. No one even talks about doubles. I hardly see any articles on doubles, right? I don't cover it. I don't know how much you cover. If you cover it at all, I'd imagine probably not.
Not at all.
Yeah. So there's obviously, yes, there is partly, I think, a kind of there is, yes, some responsibilities on the media, but some is also on, and probably a large part is, as you said, on how it's being portrayed, how it's being formatted at the moment, and how can it be changed to make it, I guess, a bit more glamorous without it being gimmicky, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a fine line, I guess, and I get I get why people are doing it, because especially for players who are just specialist doubles players, they're probably thinking, especially if you're like top five in the world and you're, in doubles, for example, you're thinking, but no one knows who I am, right? And you're thinking, I'm playing at Grand Slams, I'm winning trophies. Say they might say I've won 5 Grand Slams, but Medvedev's won one. Medvedev, people know Medvedev 100 times better than they know me.
But I
Why is that the
don't
case,
feel
right?
sorry for that person. They
Because
are
they chose
making
to
a
play doubles.
living playing tennis.
That's
I
true.
mean,
No, 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 no. I don't think it's a boohoo. I think it's just more. You can see, right? As in, they'll draw. I'm sure people will draw comparisons as doubles players. Some people will just be happy with it, right, and they'll make peace with it. But others, I know. If I was in that position, I would. I'd be like, oh, hold on, like, this is the same sport. Like,
I
how
think
come
a
I?
lot of them are. I really do. I think a lot of them are just happy to be making a living. What's interesting is a player like Jack Sock, who may be the best doubles player in the world,
Hmm,
and as he tries to revive his singles career, and he's making
yeah.
strides. Um, I would love to get into his head and ask him how he really feels about doubles versus singles. Maybe I'll do
Okay.
that at the next. That's a good question. Next time I see him.
Do you mean as in which he prefer? What facet he prefers, or
Like, yeah, and just have this like the same discussion we're having right now.
yeah?
Like, do you think there's an obligation around doubles or and I know he's a big sports fan and he follows other sports or should people really be forced or feel a sense of obligation to watch something that is just not as entertaining and people have limited free time? And how I would ask Jack, like, how do you personally, what are your goals for yourself? Would you be happy just being a great doubles specialist for the rest of your career. I doubt he would. But I'd love to just get his thoughts on all that. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll ask him next time.
There you go, high insider. Amy, I'll definitely ask you. I'll definitely ask you what he comes up with if you do manage to. But yeah, it's a really interesting discussion. I'm sure we can probably find time to have it again if we do manage to get some answers from someone like Jack Sock as well, because it's just an interesting topic, and I've seen so many comments on it, and I also do understand the fact that maybe singles players don't take it as seriously. I think that is wrong. Like, they shouldn't really be playing if they're not going to take it seriously, in the sense that if they're just going to pull out because,
That a lot of them
that's
use
not.
it, actually need it and use it as supplemental income.
Yeah, which is
So,
understandable. That's
yeah,
fine, right? But
but I mean,
they'll
imagine
play. They'll play, right?
if you're one of the double specialists that this guy's just using it to pay his coach and buy everybody dinner, and this is my way of life, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm more saying the Rublev and Khachanovs who don't need to play doubles, right? They need to play doubles, and
Right.
that's fine. Like if they want to play doubles, and they're going to kind of be respectful, and then make sure that they do play. If they're injured, it's different. But if you're just gonna pull out right because you don't feel like playing, it's a bit like, well, should you be playing doubles then? Just let someone else play, right?
So I just looked up a score. Kyrgios and Khachanov did win. They beat Granolers and Zabalyos, who are,
Okay.
amazing. That's an amazing
Yeah.
doubles team. So it's the singles players are going to get them so often, you know.
Yeah.
Two really good singles players like that are going to win, I feel like 9 times out of 10.
Really showing up the doubles players, and unfortunately, as well, it makes it kind of.
A lot of times the doubles players are older too.
That's true.
So,
That's
yeah.
true. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
And a great serve like Kyrgios's serve is a great serve in singles and doubles, and that's
Yeah.
hard to beat and
Exactly.
hard to break. So,
No, agreed. Yeah, it just transcends it, doesn't it? It doesn't matter whether it's singles or doubles, for sure, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Amy. I appreciate it. Thanks for
it
the
was
really good chat
fun.
as well. Yeah, I love talking about that. It's really interesting just to understand the dynamic behind it. But yeah, thanks, Anna. You've given me more time than we agreed as well, so appreciate it. Thank you, as always. Is there anything you want to touch upon quickly before we wrap up?
No, nope. I'm glad that we got to talk about the doubles because I really needed to get that out. And I'm supposed to go on this guy Will's podcast, and his podcast is all about doubles. And I'm going to be telling him we need to play less doubles.
You might do
It's gonna
not
be like,
hashtag doubles, and you've invited me on a podcast, but we should be playing more singles. Cover singles on the
no,
podcast.
it's not that. It's not that. It's just, I guess the one thing I would add is that it was maybe like 2 years ago, right before the pandemic, someone asked me to, what this Tennis One app, they asked me to write an article on the fact that there were these ATP tournaments going on. There was one, I think, in Winston-Salem or something like that. And it was the ATP, just an ATP tournament, but the organizers of the tournament had decided to put a women's exhibition right in the middle of the tournament. And the women's exhibition was more attended than any of the men's matches. And then the same thing happened in reverse, a women's tournament where a men's exhibition took place and the men's exhibition was the hot ticket. So the lesson from that is make doubles the hot ticket and you'll be onto something.
Yes, no, I agree. I can't disagree, Amy. I can't disagree. As always, some fantastic insights. So thank you. I really appreciate you coming on as always, and
It
yeah, we'll
was
definitely
great.
catch up again soon.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. You're welcome as always. Guys, do check out also Amy's, well, I guess, pieces on tennisconnected.com. Some really good pieces, especially covering Miami recently as well. Really good piece on Kyrgios before his little outburst today. And then also do check her out also on Twitter as well. And of course, the tennis podcast as well on YouTube, which is Amy Gill and also Joel Drucker on there, which is always a fantastic watch as well. Thanks very much, Amy. Again, appreciate it. Guys, stay safe and well. And yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.